This is a Spokane warehouse, and your warehouse may look differently, but this is typically how we want to kind of run things and organize things. There's some things in place here that we want to pay attention to. The first one is a whiteboard. We're going to want to have our whiteboard set up, and this is where we will list our jobs and the shelf that they're on. It's also nice to add the locations. Like this one says Odessa Memorial. This helps any PMs or technicians who are looking for parts for a job locate what they're looking for. In this part of the warehouse, we have all our shelving. We gotta have all our safety equipment over here, and then all of our inventory for jobs, work orders, and long-term inventory, consumables is gonna be over here. I have an outbound rack right there. The way these shelves are set up is from top to bottom. They're permanently marked with a letter and a number. So over here, this one happens to be G1, then G2, G3, and so on. There's the E's and F's and stuff. So that's how we do those. And these never change. Those, once they are labeled, they never change. They're always going to be that. The only thing that will change will be the whiteboard, which we reference what parts are on the whiteboard. On this shelf over here, we have our inventory. Although anything that's not packed and isn't gray stock is always going to be considered inventory in D365. We obviously know that there's going to be stuff that just sits as inventory that gets used at some point, and then we have inventory that has been received in with intent of it being used on a project. For the inventory that we know is just inventory for our needs, not D365 needs, but for what we're using it for, we're going to mark all that inventory with a green sticker. And for anything that's gray stock, for all the gray stock, we're going to mark with a gray sticker. Okay. Some of the supplies I run in my warehouse, I carry this black pinstriping tape, picked up on Amazon. It's thin. That's what I used to mark my whiteboard up with. Obviously I got some box knives, some tape. I got some shrink wrap for pallets, and I got some stickers. I have the green stickers for inventory, gray for gray stock, and then the blue sticker I chose for things that we order from Amazon that we can't have ordered in with an NPR, one of those, those rare parts, and I use a blue sticker for that because it means it's not technically inventory because you can't count it, but it's also not gray stock. So that's our blue stock. Down here, these are labels. I picked these up off Amazon. These ones are, doesn't have a, made by Avery. And you can print them up, but typically I just pull them off, peel them, and write on them. And this is kind of an example of what it looks like when you write on them. So up at the top, I'll have the job number. This one will just say USB for US Bank. That's the site, Spokane, Maine. That's their location, just for ease of finding it. It tells me what it is in there. And this is the owner of it. So this is who I've reached out to let them know, hey, this is your part. And then for service work orders, here's one right here. This is probably for an ATM. And instead of the job number, it'll have the work order number, US Bank, Moses Lake. This one was canceled. So just as an example of how these things are listed. Now, another thing I like to do is, if I know something's gonna be here for a little bit, I also like to, if I have access to it, I like to write down the quantity and the NPR number. And I do this for ease of counting inventory. So it makes my job a lot easier if I can look at this box and say, you know what, I have 2 of these batteries, NPR 231016. So if you know you have something here for a long time, it's always nice to get the NPR number on there. If you know something's gonna be leaving within a matter of 2-3 weeks, you don't typically have to write anything on there. But it's just something I like to do. Makes my job in life easier. So for consumables, here's an example. Wires are consumables. I typically just kind of put those in their own little world. I don't really throw a gray stock on there, although it is kind of a gray stock, unless somebody can find a way to actually transfer it to the actual project. But this wire here, it's not really marked. It's just kind of sitting there, and everybody knows what it is. And this is just a broad overview of what I have for a warehouse. It's quite large, although once you get all the shelving in here, it does fill up pretty quick. But over on this side, this is where you'll find all my quote unquote long-term inventory. This is the stuff that's just gonna kind of sit here for until we need it on a job. Rolling around here, I got this lock cabinet, I got some apparel in there and a little bit of safety equipment. Again, there's consumables. And then over here on this shelf over here, this is where I start loading stuff in for my projects that are rolling in or service work orders, shelf D. And again, it's D1, D2, D3, D4, and then straight over here, I'm into the E's, you know, and this is Ashley's gray stock for fire. And I kind of head over to here. I got some US Bank stuff. Down here, I got some BPA stuff. And then I got some other stuff over here. But anyway, this is kind of how I run things. I label my shelves, and then all the magic happens over here on the whiteboard, and that's where things are communicated. So once a part goes on the shelf, I come over here, I reference the job number, what shelf it's on, communicate that to everybody, and then we're all on the same page. The big one that helps me out though is the label stickers, so that I can write on that instead of writing on the box in case it ever had to go back to the vendor. We're not writing on the cardboard, it just goes on the label. So I hope that helps.